Hi, everyone. Welcome to Everyday Real English from Real Life podcast.
Hey there, and welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping into a topic that can feel like navigating a maze, especially if you're doing it in a new language.
Oh, absolutely. Visiting a doctor or hospital here in the United States.
Yeah, it's just medical situations bring their own unique language, their own way of doing things.
Totally. And when you're not feeling well, trying to find the right words just adds this whole extra layer of stress.
Absolutely. But, being prepared makes a world of difference. So we've pulled together some really helpful information and practical phrases to help you feel more confident.
Think of this deep dive as like clearing the fog a bit. We're going to walk through the process, point out what's important to say.
Help you feel more empowered during your visit.
Exactly.
Okay, let's dive in and get you ready. Our mission today is basically to move step by step through a typical doctor's visit. From the moment you arrive all the way to understanding the doctor's advice.
Sounds good. Where do we start?
So, picture this. You arrive at the doctor's office or maybe a hospital lobby. What's the very first thing you need to do?
Well, you'll need to check in, usually with the receptionist right at the front desk.
Okay, check in. How do you do that?
It sounds simple, but knowing the phrase helps. A really straightforward way is just, "Hi, my name is your name. I have an appointment to see Doctor's name."
Okay. Simple and direct. Sets the stage.
Right. And then the receptionist will likely respond, maybe something like, "Please take a seat. Mr. Maths is your name. The doctor will see you soon."
Or when it's time, the doctor will see you now. Knowing those phrases helps you understand their cues, right?
Exactly. Be ready to state your name, the doctor you're seeing. And another key step right at this stage is often filling out forms, health history forms.
The forms. This is where language can be a real hurdle sometimes.
Definitely. Preparing beforehand is really crucial. Maybe even writing down key details in your own language first helps organize your thoughts.
Yeah, but practicing saying things like your address or date of birth in English makes actually filling out those boxes much easier.
And a really important point, if you don't understand a question on the form, please ask for help. Don't just guess.
Good advice. So important.
And when it comes to those forms, or maybe talking to the nurse soon after, be ready to list any medicines you're taking.
Oh, yeah. That means prescription drugs and the over-the-counter ones, right? Like vitamins or pain relievers.
Everything.
Right.
And absolutely do not forget to mention any allergies. This is critical for your safety. They will definitely ask you.
Do you have any allergies? I feel like they always ask that.
They do. And you can respond clearly with, "Yes, I'm allergic to,"
Yeah.
and say what it is, like penicillin, or maybe, "No, I don't have any allergies."
Okay, so you've checked in, maybe filled out forms,
Mhm.
then you get called back.
Right. You'll usually speak with a nurse or a medical assistant first, and then the doctor.
And this is your chance, right, to explain why you are there. How do you effectively tell them what's going on with your body?
This is, well, arguably the most important part for the doctor. You need to describe your symptoms clearly.
How do they usually ask?
A very common way they'll start is by asking, "What seems to be the trouble?" Or maybe just, "What are your symptoms?"
Okay. And we found some really useful phrases for describing common symptoms, didn't we?
Yes, using these sort of standard ways of talking about how you feel makes it much easier for the doctor to understand what's happening.
So you can use phrases starting with, I have a way, or I feel, right?
Exactly. Like, "I have a fever." That's a really common one.
Or I have a runny nose, maybe a bad cough, or a sore throat.
Mm-hmm. Or you could describe your general feeling, "I feel terrible." Or specific sensations like, "I feel dizzy."
Dizzy, like the room is spinning a bit.
Yeah. Or perhaps a more widespread discomfort, "My body aches," like everything just hurts.
Got it. What about pain specifically? That can be tricky because, pain feels different depending on the problem.
Exactly. And describing it well is super helpful for the doctor. The simplest way is just, "My body part hurts," like my head hurts.
Okay, but can you be more specific?
Yes, definitely. You can describe the type of pain. Is it a sharp pain? That's usually strong and sudden.
Ouch.
Or is it a dull pain, which tends to be less intense maybe, but more constant, a dull ache?
That distinction, sharp versus dull, that seems really useful for them to know. What about that feeling after, I don't know, you exercise too much or sleep funny?
Yes, a muscle might feel sore. We often talk about a sore muscle. Sore is like a continuous pain, often from overuse or strain, like my neck is stiff and sore.
Stiff meaning it's hard to move normally, right?
Exactly. Knowing these descriptive words helps the doctor narrow things down.
What other symptoms came up that are useful to know how to describe?
Well, things like having a rash on your skin. And if it bothers you, you'd say it's itchy.
Itchy meaning you want to scratch it.
Right. Or maybe if you haven't been wanting to eat, you'd say you've lost your appetite.
Okay. And they'll probably ask how long this has been going on.
Almost certainly, yeah. Be ready to give a time frame, even if it's just an estimate. Phrases like, for a couple of days, or about a week, or even maybe a month or more.
Got it. So you tell them your symptoms. What does the doctor do then?
Well, the doctor will listen carefully, and they'll likely ask more specific questions. They might even touch the area you mentioned and ask, does it hurt when I press here?
Checking for tenderness?
Right. They might take your temperature and say something like, your temperature's very high, you have a fever.
They're basically gathering all this information to make a diagnosis, right? That's the word.
Exactly. Diagnosis. That means identifying exactly what the health problem is. So based on everything you've told them and what they observe, they might say, okay, it looks like you have the flu.
But sometimes it's not that clear cut, is it?
No, definitely not. Sometimes symptoms aren't enough, so the doctor might say, we'll need to run some tests.
Tests like what?
Could be things like a blood test, maybe a urine test, or imaging tests like an X-ray or an ultrasound scan.
Okay. To get more information.
Right. And sometimes doctors also tell you what something isn't. They might say, we haven't made a diagnosis yet, but we've ruled out cancer. That means they've eliminated that specific possibility.
Ah, okay. Ruling things out. So let's say they do have a diagnosis. What's the next step? Treatment.
Yes, exactly. That's when they discuss treatment. These are the methods they'll use to help you get better.
And often that involves medicine?
Very often. The doctor might prescribe medication. That means they give you an official note, the prescription.
Which you take to the pharmacy.
Right. An electronic one these days, usually. And they might prescribe, for example, antibiotics if you have some kind of bacterial infection.
And understanding how to take that medicine is super important.
Absolutely critical. The doctor will give specific instructions like, please take it twice every day, once in the morning and once before bed. Or maybe take one pill with food.
You really need to pay close attention to those instructions. The timing, with food or not, the dose.
Yes. And this is where, if you are unsure about anything, it's so important to speak up. The single most vital phrase you can use is, excuse me, but I don't understand.
That phrase is your key, isn't it? To getting the clarity you need. Don't hesitate to use it.
Not at all. And it's also okay to ask questions about the treatment plan itself. Like, what are my options for treatment?
Or in more serious situations, maybe, am I going to need surgery?
Right. Surgery, which is also called an operation, that's when a doctor makes a cut in your body to repair or remove something. The doctor operates or performs surgery.
It's a big deal, so understanding if it's necessary is vital.
Definitely. And sometimes the doctor might decide you need more observation before going home. They might say something like, I'd like to keep you here overnight for observation.
Meaning you stay in the hospital.
Yes, so they can closely monitor your vital signs.
Yeah.
That's checking your heart rate, breathing, blood pressure, things like that, just to make sure you're stable.
Okay. Now, what if the news you get is actually good? Maybe the problem isn't serious after all. Is there a good phrase for that feeling?
Oh, yeah. A great one is simply, that's a relief.
That's a relief. Perfect. It captures that feeling of happiness after you were worried.
And one final point about treatment plans. If you feel unsure or maybe uncomfortable about the diagnosis or the recommended treatment,
You have options.
you do. You have the right to get a second opinion. That means seeing a different doctor to get their perspective. That's an important part of navigating the healthcare system.
Good to know. Okay. So beyond the specific language and the steps of the visit, there were some really excellent practical tips too, right, for making the whole experience easier.
Yeah, absolutely. We touched on preparing by writing down symptoms and medicines beforehand.
Right. And practicing saying your symptoms in English out loud before you go is really helpful. You know, practice with a friend or family member maybe.
That's a great idea. And actually bringing a friend with you to the appointment can also make a big difference. Well, they can offer moral support, for one, but also help you remember what questions you wanted to ask and maybe help you understand or just recall what the doctor said afterward. 2 sets of ears are often better than 1.
That makes sense. Now, here's one tip that I thought was really interesting. Asking the doctor if you can audio record the appointment.
Yes. That was a fantastic suggestion. Apparently, many doctors are actually okay with this. And it lets you listen back later when you're calmer and can really focus on the details.
Wow, that's a great idea for capturing all that information accurately.
Definitely. And something critically important, which you should know you can request. You can ask for a medical interpreter.
How do you do that?
Usually you ask when you schedule your appointment. And then maybe remind the receptionist when you check in. This resource is there to help ensure accurate communication. It's your right.
That ability to get professional interpretation, that's a resource everyone navigating healthcare in a new language should absolutely be aware of and use if they need it.
For sure. And finally, there's a simple but really powerful framework called Ask Me 3. It's designed specifically to help you make sure you leave the appointment with the most critical information clear in your mind.
Okay, ask me 3. Tell us about these 3 questions. What should you focus on asking or making sure you understand?
It boils down to getting clear answers to these 3 things. 1, what is my main problem?
Okay, the diagnosis.
2, what do I need to do?
The treatment plan, basically. Taking medicine, follow-up appointments.
Right. And 3, why is it important for me to do this?
Understanding the reason behind the treatment.
Exactly. Just making sure you have solid, understandable answers to those 3 core questions can significantly improve how well you grasp your condition and your treatment plan when you walk out the door.
Wow, that really puts the focus right on the essential information you need. Okay, so we've covered quite a bit. Checking in, clearly describing symptoms, different kinds of pain, feeling busy, understanding key terms like diagnosis, prescription, treatment.
And those practical strategies, too, like asking for interpreters, bringing support, maybe even recording the conversation, and using Ask Me 3.
Navigating healthcare, especially when language is a factor, it's definitely a challenge, no doubt about it.
But by getting familiar with the process, learning some key phrases like the ones we discussed, and knowing what resources and strategies are available, you can absolutely feel much more prepared and confident.
Remember, it's completely normal to feel nervous, and it is absolutely okay. In fact, it's encouraged to ask questions if you don't understand something.
Your health is incredibly important. Clear communication is just fundamental to getting the care you need.
So practice these phrases maybe. Take some time to prepare before your visit. Write things down. Think about how you'll describe how you feel.
And don't hesitate to use resources like interpreters or bringing a friend along for support.
So what does all this mean for you, the listener? It means you have tangible tools now, drawn directly from the info we've gone through, to make your next visit to the doctor or hospital hopefully less stressful and definitely more effective.
You are more prepared now.
Yeah.
You can do this.
Yeah, so think about this. Just identifying 1 or 2 phrases, maybe, or tips from this deep dive that you plan to actually use next time you need to see a doctor.
How might that small step change the entire experience for you? Something to think about.